Welcome to CIA Declassified. Before we dive into the operational phase, if you want a full idea of the umbrella of psychic spying, you need to listen to these 5 essential episodes in tandem with this one. CIA Declassified Reality is a Simulacrum, CIA Declassified Project Gateway, CIA Declassified Project Centerline, CIA Declassified Project Stargate, and my personal favorite, CIA Declassified The Psychotic Fringe, Tea, Glow, and the Tragic End of the Psychic Cold War, which covers the legendary viewers like Ingo Swann, Pat Price, and Joe McGonigal, and even the temperamental alien friend Ted Owens. In our last episode, we covered the intellectual foundation, Project Centerline, where the CIA concluded that consciousness is a non-local energy field, an antenna tuned into a holographic universe. But theory doesn't win wars. The military needed a repeatable, predictable, and quantifiable method to use this antenna. The operational answer was Project Sunstreak. Project Sunstreak was launched by the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, in 1978. Its mandate was simple: take the wild, often chaotic phenomenon of psychic perception and discipline it into a structured, military-grade intelligence asset. They could no longer afford vague, poetic descriptions of targets. They needed coordinates, dimensions, and schematics. The key challenge was what the declassified files call the, quote, noise problem, end quote. The moment an operative or viewer tries to access non-local information, they are immediately overwhelmed by internal psychological noise, preconceptions, and emotional static. The signal is there, but the receiver is blocked. The solution is detailed in CIA RDP 96007, 88R001, 800 30001-1, titled Sunstreak Program, Transition from Freeform to Protocol-Based Acquisition. End quote. This document describes the formal pivot towards discipline. This is a quote directly from that document. Quote, unstructured perception fails to filter subconscious interference. The primary goal of the Sunstreak program is to implement a structured viewing protocol to isolate raw sensory data before allowing the viewer's cognitive bias to engage. The output must be blind, reproducible, and verifiable by conventional means, end quote. This document formalized the creation of controlled remote viewing, or as the pros call it, CRV. CRV is the secret sauce of psychic spying. It's a rigid, multi-stage protocol designed to bypass the conscious mind's tendency to fabricate or interpret data prematurely. The methodology forced the viewer to respond to a target's unique 8-digit coordinate only with specific non-judgmental sensory inputs, building up the description piece by piece. The files categorize the method into several critical stages. Stage 1 is the raw access. The viewer is given only the coordinate. They must immediately capture the gross sensory environment. Wet, dry, large, small, man-made, natural. No interpretation is allowed. If you perceive a lot of water, you write H2O, not ocean. Stage 2, delineation. The viewer begins sketching the geometric shape of the target environment and identifying its primary sensory inputs. Colors, textures, sounds, temperatures. This is about contour and atmosphere. Stage 3, emotional and functional analysis. Only here is the viewer allowed to start interpreting the data they've already collected. Is it a complex environment? Is there a sense of authority? If they see tall, man-made objects, the conscious mind is finally allowed to suggest, this feels like a military installation. Stage 4, sketching and reporting. The final stage where the viewer draws detailed sketches and writes a concise, actionable report for the intelligence analyst. This intense, almost hypnotic discipline is detailed in CIA RDP 96007, 88R001, 800300003-9, titled CRV Training and Psychical Decoupling, end quote. This document explains the specific techniques used to achieve the necessary neurological state for non-local access without risk of emotional interference. The entire process was about creating a wall between the raw data and the cognitive bias. The files detailing the CRV protocol, particularly the one that I just quoted, as well as CRA RDP 96007, 88R001, 80030030003-9, which outlines the training methodologies. There are many, many redactions. These black marks are not random. They hide critical institutional secrets. Looking at some of the most prominent areas of censoring, and we can make assessments. For instance, full names and affiliations of non-military viewers. The names of early non-military viewers, researchers like Ingo Swann, and external consultants are consistently blacked out. Hypothesis for this redaction: this protects the identity of U.S. citizens who were engaged in what was, at the time, highly controversial and non-sanctioned espionage. Exposure would have ruined careers and caused public scandal, confirming government use of psychics, as well as redactions regarding specific real-time target coordinates post-acquisition. While the coordinate used for the viewing is given, the true corresponding name or location of the target, e.g. Soviet submarine Pen A, is often redacted in the training files. Hypothesis for this redaction: this protects ongoing or sensitive intelligence missions, even years later. Confirming that a specific remote viewing session was successful against a known Soviet asset is still classified, as it validates the technology and reveals which foreign installations were compromised. Another spot where we have lots of redactions is the detailed neurological feedback and instrumentation. The advanced sections of the training documents that describe the precise biofeedback mechanisms, EEG readings, and pharmaceutical or hypnotic aids used to decouple the viewers are heavily redacted. Hypothesis for this: this protects the proprietary methodology. The specific combination of sensory deprivation, psychological conditioning, and technology used to induce the CRV state is the true military secret, the how-to guide for psychic spying. The redactions are not simply about protecting the secret of what they saw, but the secret of how they saw it and who did the viewing. By 1980, Sunstreak was producing results that, according to the records, defied explanation. These early successes were crucial for securing continued funding. One prominent case cited in the reports is the targeting of a previously unknown Soviet nuclear materials storage facility in the remote Ural Mountains. While conventional surveillance was impossible, a Sunstreak viewer was tasked with locating a Soviet asset. The viewer returned with highly detailed information. The logs note that the viewer, working from a blind coordinate, produced sketches showing a large cylindrical underground structure with specific access tunnels and surrounding topography. This is a quote from an internal DIA after-action report from 1981. The CRV output was verified by a subsequent high-altitude satellite overflight, which detected ground disturbances and heat signatures consistent with the subject's stage 4 schematic. The depth and subterranean layout matched with 90% accuracy. This remote acquisition saved an estimated 6 months of conventional intelligence gathering. End quote. These verifiable hits, locating the Chinese nuclear test site, describing the layout of Soviet submarine pens, or even finding the location of captured personnel, were the proof of concept that ended Project Sunstreak and birthed the broader, more expansive and more expensive program we now know as Project Stargate. Project Sunstreak taught the military that psychic spying wasn't a talent, it was a skill that could be taught, standardized, and applied. The antenna could be tuned. Now that we understand the theory, Centerline, and the methodology, Sunstreak, we move to the true genesis of the program. Next time we dive into the dedicated files on the first and most controversial viewer, Ingo Swann. We open the CIA Swann 003 Planetary Anomalies file to examine the missions that secured the program's funding, including psychic mapping of Jupiter's rings, the rings of Saturn, and the most unbelievable target, the dark side of the moon. This is the true story of the man who psychically mapped the solar system for the U.S. government. In the meantime, pay attention to the shadows, question your memories, and be rational. I'll see you in the archives.